Back in the good old days of childhood, I became a huge fan of Marvel through their animated shows and movies, and in turn, read the comics. But one Marvel title that I don't have too much knowledge about is the X-Men. I'm willing to admit this. As of right now, I don't have the most extensive knowledge of the X-Men. Not as extensive as my knowledge goes to other Marvel Comics characters like Spider-Man, Captain America, or Daredevil. I know some, but not everything about this Marvel Comics team. I know the core, most of the X-Men, some of their rogues gallery, and what their personalities are like. I did watch the Fox X-Men films, X-Men Evolution, and I have read some of the iconic storylines written by Chris Claremont. Aside from that, most of this is all new to me. I never got to watch the X-Men 90s series aside from 2 or 3 episodes. Out of the 90s Marvel animated shows, X-Men was the only one I hadn't seen all the way through, not counting Silver Surfer, and we don't talk about that series in this household. I meant to do this last spring, but I didn't because I got lazy. So starting today, I'm rewatching all the Marvel animated series that came out during the 90s. And the first one up is X-Men. Open my eyes, Charles Xavier. I'm ready to embark on this journey of mutant struggles and prejudice. Before I get started, I wanted to dedicate all of these 90s Marvel animated reviews to all the creators and contributors. Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, Steve Ditko, Chris Claremont, Jim Lee, Jerry Conway, Tom DeFalco, and Lin Lee, and many, many more. Special thanks to all of you for creating and contributing to the source material that we all know and love. This is for you. If the intro doesn't spell out what the series is about, then I don't know what to tell you. With so many different team lineups of the X-Men spanning, at that point in time, 3 decades. This X-Men lineup is Charles Xavier, Scott Summers, Jean Grey, Logan, Ororo Munroe, Hank McCoy, Anna Marie LeBeau, Remy LeBeau, Jubilation Lee, and Kevin Sidney. All of which are mutants that want to coexist with humankind. They all have their own struggles and flaws. They feel very real and, as far as I know, are comic accurate depictions of these characters, which segues into something I love talking about, which is the characters. Professor X is the founder of the Xavier Institute for Gifted Youngsters, and to a lot of X-Men, a father figure, and someone to look to for guidance when they are left questioning themselves. He just wants to coexist with humans in a peaceful manner and frequently debates with those who do not like mutants for one reason or another. Believe it or not, he's based off of Martin Luther King Jr. Cyclops is the leader of the X-Men, and unlike the movies, is given a lot of attention and development throughout this series. He's an interesting character who shows time and again why he's the leader of the group. While he does make mistakes in some episodes, he is a character like many others that has internal conflict within himself, being an orphan at one point and also being bullied. Jean Grey, the first of many Xavier students who has a very special bond with Charles, and is in the middle of a love triangle between Wolverine and Cyclops for all of Season 1. Although she goes missing for what I want to guesstimate at least half of the series because of a certain Phoenix Force, she does get the time and development needed to be a 3-dimensional character. Marvel favorite Wolverine has a wishy-washy past and many strange friendships and partnerships of past exploits. He's got a temper problem and usually butts heads with Cyclops.
Cyclops! I know how you feel about it, Wolverine, but... You know nothing, little man. Next time, I use these. I'm taking them out from you! Let's do it. Let's see how tough you are when you ain't giving orders.
For the most part, he likes to start fights, but he's not a bad guy.
Help me. Sure, pal. You look like you can use a hand.
He's a guy who's rough around the edges, but doesn't like letting any of his friends down. He's a big brother figure to Jubilee, at times violent and ill-tempered. He's got a heart of gold.
Shaw said to bring back the body.
Yeah. Oh well, come on. Let's find an easier way down.
Storm is a character that stays in control of her emotions so her powers don't become erratic. She's claustrophobic due to an incident earlier in her life, and as a child was a penniless orphan on the streets before meeting Xavier. And next to Xavier and Beast is pretty level-headed. Her power scope is something not too many people know about. I really like Storm. She's very sensible.
Whatever the reason, Professor Xavier's first rule is to work as a team.
Beast isn't what a lot of people would expect seeing him at first glance. You'd think he's a savage monster that will harm others, when in actuality he's a soft-spoken, kind man with a huge intellect that just happens to have the appearance of a beast-like creature. That doesn't mean he's never lost his composure, as he did in one of my personal favorite episodes of the series. He wasn't always like this, as he probably mutated over time. He doesn't try to cure himself either, as there's nothing wrong with him per se. He's content with who he is, and sometimes disguises himself when he's in unfamiliar territory. Rogue cannot make physical contact with anyone. Her bare skin absorbs the power and memories of whoever she touches, which leads to an incident within the comics that I won't talk about here. From what is implied, she had a father that abused her because she is a mutant, on top of possibly being a runaway and being unable to love anyone because she can't make physical contact with them. She's the one who may or may not have the most conflict with her powers. It doesn't stop Gambit from hitting on her though.
Well, look at this. I hope you dress up for me.
I'd like to sometime, Gambit. But I'm spending today with an old friend.
Maybe you miss me, eh?
I hate you.
I don't understand this woman.
The Cajun is ready when she is. Aside from always flirting with Rogue and, well, most women he crosses, he'd like to live a just life. Out of everyone on this team, he's had to prove himself throughout the series.
Don't you ever get tired of listening to yourself?
Not when I'm talking about you, Cher.
Ow!
The newest member of this particular X-Men team is Jubilee. She's the youngest and is the future. In a way, she's kind of a moral compass for Logan, and is happily taken under the wing of each X-Men. Sadly, she's sidelined a lot of the time in Season 3 and 4. In Season 5, the kids show she has potential. Morph isn't really in the show that much past the first 2 seasons. I don't want to spoil why. Seeing him return in future seasons and overcoming his fear is great to see. The X-Men have various villains that they clash with. Magneto, Master Mold, Bolivar, Trask, Friends of Humanity, Mr. Sinister, Apocalypse, Juggernaut, and many others. All with their own nefarious plots and motivations, which I could go into detail. But if I were, then this review would be an hour long, if not longer. They even have allies from the future like Bishop and Cable who try to alter the present so the future won't be in peril. Other mutants with interesting guest episodes like Iceman, X-Factor, Nightcrawler, Quicksilver, and Scarlet Witch appear. Some of my favorite episodes are where the X-Men cross paths with a newly introduced mutant. With all that is given, the writers have a lot to explore with this wide array of characters. They used a lot of the X-Men mythos to its full extent, from backstories, heroes, villains, supporting cast, catchphrases, locations like X-Mansion, the Danger Room, the Savage Land, Genosha, and various other locations, to character designs, character relationships, history, and adaptations of famous storylines already established in the comics brought to screen. They really used everything to their full capacity. They were writing some pretty heavy subject matter in this series, and to think the children of the 90s were watching this while secretly being educated. In spite of the ratings behemoth the show became, there were numerous times where the studio tried to cut costs and asked the creative team to tone down the series and make it more kid-friendly and have less serious subject matter. And I'm sure we all know what I think about this. There will be no toning down what has already proven to be so successful. Cut costs? Why? So you can buy another yacht? Let the creative minds create and go back to collecting millions and doing calculations, you uncultured business swine! This show has a lot of great examples of well-written episodes and original episode concepts that aren't seen within the X-Men comics. Some famous X-Men storylines are adapted in this series. An example of well-written episodes are actually the first 2 episodes, as it gives an introduction to the Marvel Universe and specifically mutant prejudice and fear of mutants. Every character in this 2-parter gets a memorable or badass introduction.
Storm, mistress of the elements, commands you to release that child.
Lighten up on the speeches, sugar.
tiny.
Mutant, stop!
They feel great.
Like anything else?
Don't go away. I'll be right back.
Cyclops. It would be quite disconcerting if this were to detonate. Disconcerting, yet provocative.
Fellow Americans, I am an idiot.
Wait a minute. Those monitors were on.
It's the girl, Jean.
There you are, Wolverine!
And just about everything in these 2 episodes hooked me instantly. About every voice casting choice they had for the series is spot on for each character. I sometimes imagine hearing these voices when reading the comics. All around, a well-rounded voice cast. Here's some examples as to why I think this.
Thought you were gonna bring democracy to Genosha. I don't mind being wrong, as long as I can correct my mistakes.
Sit down, kid. You're not going.
I'm not a kid anymore. I'm one of you, one of the X-Men, and it means more to me than anything in the world.
Yeah, that's what it means to me, too. Come on, Mr. Change the Universe. Let's see if you can handle just one X-Man.
I'm scared, Storm.
Let us help you.
Only Professor X could have helped me. And he's gone now. Maybe forever.
Trust us, Rogue. We shall find a way to help you.
What kind of God would let men do this to me?
Our ability to understand God's purpose is limited. But we take comfort in the fact that His love is limitless.
I used to buy into all that. But I've lived too long. And I've done too much.
Life will always be hard. I understand this better than most.
The brave are always the first to die.
I love the art style to this show. It's the legendary Jim Lee's art style from the comics. Just look at it. Such a badass art style. Brawn, muscular X-Men, and curvy, slender female X-Men. Ugh. While the art style is nice, I can't say the same for the animation. It has nothing to do with the creative team, it's more so on the censors. You can't have Wolverine stabbing people left and right, but that would be cool to see. And the animation studio they hired, CAPCOM Entertainment, either got lazy or they weren't given enough time to work on these episodes. A lot of the time during season 1, the animation just looked off or unfinished. Most of the time, the action scenes weren't all that great and weren't really consistent until season 5. The animation is a huge flaw. The writing and voice acting really carry this show. The soundtrack has yet to be released, which is a shame because there's a number of really cool music pieces composed by Fox Kids alumni Shuki Levy, Ron Wasserman, and company. Throughout the series run, there was a difficulty to get other non-mutant Marvel characters to be on the show. Series director Larry Houston had a funny loophole that he used to get around character restrictions.
How you managed that, and how you got caught at first and then snuck around it?
Yeah, the first time I tried to, back then Spider-Man was on the same network as X-Men, so I tried to put Spider-Man as like in a cameo in a shot, and I put it into the system, and it came back rejected. It's like, why can't I use Spider-Man? It's like, they didn't really give me a reason, they just said no. And it's like, okay, later on what happened is that what I discovered was that there was an episode called Genosha, and the writers wrote Mutant 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, into the show. And so what I did was I brought my comic book collection into work, put it on a Xerox machine, and I said, okay, make this one Blob, make this Mystique, make this Sunfire, make this North Star. But I kept the original names. Mutant 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Put it into the system, came back, no problem. Went, oh, okay, now I get it. that point forward, you know, all of these characters, I think Doctor Strange was mutant, magic mutant. Thor was a Norse mutant. Watcher was a alien mutant.
Wasn't there a mutant in Africa at one point?
Oh yeah, God, that's right. When it was in the Sanctuary Part 1 and 2, Magneto went to Africa, so I created this African mutant number 3, which was the Black Panther.
Nicely done. When they did get use of these other characters, it was either blink and you'll miss it cameos or episodes where they guest star throughout. There were two endings for the show, the original being the 4-parter Beyond Good and Evil. If this was the finale, it's a good way to finish it because just about every X-Men and both time travelers contributed to saving the day. It was supposed to be the ending until the studio ordered more episodes at last minute, making way for season 5, which is a nice epilogue season in a manner of speaking, as the team experiences a slightly more at peace Earth. It's also the season that got a new intro and slightly improved animation, and for some reason, a new art style. They couldn't mimic Jim Lee's art style. Alright, I'm gonna let that slide. The episode Graduation Day, I think, works better as a finale to the team of the X-Men, something more personal and grounded. While I do like the show overall, some events in Season 5 are left open-ended. They're never addressed because the show ended. If the show ever returns, which is a maybe at the moment, they could give these plot threads that were left unaddressed a conclusion. I'm all for not just X-Men to return, but the Marvel 90s shows to return and give us new stories. I will give X-Men the Animated Series a recommendation. One down, more to go, true believers and newcomers alike. Join me next time for the 90s animated adaptation of Marvel's First Family. I'm Lena Mars of the Associated Productions crew, and I'll see you next time.